the second when your eyes caught mine, there been a single thread of doubt in my mind. And it's like I've always known you. I've been waiting for this moment and for you, only you. Through space and time, two souls align. We weave this dream together, a love that lasts forever. Heavenly bliss, I could die from your kiss. Our love will last forever, even death won't ever do us part. Two hearts collide, and I drown in your eyes. I sigh when you sigh. I put all of my fears aside, raptured by you, and you give it to me. 'Cause we wanna be free. You are mine and I belong to you. I always knew I'd feel this way, and I will love you to the end of days. It's like you've always known me, and I've been longing for this moment with you. Through space and time, two souls align. We weave this dream together, a love that lasts forever. Heavenly bliss, I could die from your kiss. Our love will last forever, even death won't ever do us through space and time, two souls align. We weave this dream together, a love that lasts forever. Heavenly bliss, I could die from your kiss. Our love will last forever, even death won't ever do us part. Even death won't do us part.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? Happy Tuesday. You guys are just popping off in the chat. How was your Thanksgiving, everybody? Is that a good one? Everybody's talking about how cold it is. I swear, you guys, if I could just lock my door and wrap up in a blanket until it gets warm again, I'd be happy. I hate the cold weather. And I'm sitting here staring at half a pumpkin pie that my sister won't take to her house. You know what happens with that. Oh, JPC, you live in a log cabin? Girl, I want your life. Mine sucks. It's cold in that jail cell, Judy. All right, so for those of you guys who came for the Chandler Halderson trial, just wanted to let you guys know we're a little community here that's been We're a little warped, dysfunctional family. We love one another, and we talk a lot. It's a commentary channel, but we're gonna watch this trial. I've got a couple of things I'm gonna start out with here. I want to start from the beginning, and just to kind of bring you guys up to par with what this weirdo did. So he was in college. Okay, so he's 23 when all this happened back in 2021. He's in college, and I guess he flunked out, but he never wanted to tell mom and dad that he flunked out, right? So he makes up this thing that he's working. Not only is he still in college, and he's been sending all these emails because the parents are asking for, grades or certain questions. And I haven't watched this trial. Like, you guys, I'm diving back into this with you. So my memory's starting to kind of come back a little bit on what happened. But so he starts sending these emails to himself like he's somebody that works at the university where he goes to school to show his dad some kind of proof of why grades aren't coming in or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. So then he tells them that he actually was like scuba diver, a scuba diver for some kind of police rescue thing too. He added that to the mix. So he was doing that part time. He was also working for an insurance company part time or full time at one point, and he was in the process of moving to go work at SpaceX. He actually got a job, and had accepted the job to go work at SpaceX. And I think the process was is that him and his girlfriend were supposed to move so that he could go relocate for this job. And I think she may have actually been his fiance, not just his girlfriend. So then dad catches on to what's going on, and he realizes that everything that his son's been telling me is a complete lie. And somehow or another, dad sends him a text or email or something, says, We need to talk. We need to sit down and talk. Like, the gig's up, right? Well, this kid, he offs his parents, like mom and dad both. Crazy. It's crazy. The details that go into what he does, the hard work that he puts into all the things that he does, even though he really doesn't do that great of a job of covering things up, is insane because he's like one of the worst criminals ever. He he doesn't know how to cover his tracks or anything, right? So it kind of reminded me a little bit of that guy. Remember that guy that killed his mom and dad and was like, oh God, I don't want to say anything too crazy because YouTube will cut me off, but just did some really crazy stuff and was living in the house for several days afterwards. They just had the trial like over the last year. And remember, he had the kind of face mask that was like that clear thing that went over his head. It was like a helmet with the clear thing over his head in the trial. Fat, bald, ugly guy. You guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, this is what we're looking at. Joel Guy. Thank you, Judy. Joel Guy. Okay, it was his girlfriend. His brother has a fiance. Okay, yeah. So we're gonna dive down into this case, you guys, and we're gonna start from the beginning of where like the jury would pick things up. And as we dive into this trial, I'm gonna be picking some stuff up in the background every day and maybe throwing out a couple of couple times a week. I'm gonna throw out some videos of some behind the scene things that happened that may not have shown up in the trial, where the jury could see it. Okay? So let's begin the trial, shall we?
Count 1 and Count 5 of the amended information each allege that the above-named defendant, Chandler M. Halderson, on and or between July 1, 2021 and July 8, 2021 in Dane County, Wisconsin, did, as to Count 1, cause the death of Bart A. Halderson with intent to kill that person, and as to Count 5, cause the death of Krista R. Halderson with intent to kill that person, both contrary to Wistat Section 940.01, Sum 1, Sub A. To these two charges, Chandler M. Halderson has entered a plea of not guilty, which means the state must prove every element of each offense charged beyond a reasonable doubt.
I know, Judy, this judge could possibly be like on a commentator like on Law and Crime or something. He's such a good speaker.
Intentional homicide, as defined in Section 940.01 of the Criminal Code of Wisconsin, is committed by one who causes the death of another human being with the intent to kill that person or another. Before you may find the defendant guilty of either of these offenses, the state must prove by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the following two elements were present for each count. Number one, the defendant caused the death of Bart A. Halderson and, as to the second charge, caused the death of Krista R. Halverson. Cause means that the defendant's act was a substantial factor in producing the death. Element two, the defendant acted with the intent to kill Bart A. Halderson and, as to the second charge, acted with intent to kill Krista R. Halderson. Intent to kill means that the defendant had the mental purpose to take the life of another human being or was aware that his conduct was practically certain to cause the death of another human being. While the law requires that the defendant acted with intent to kill, it does not require that the intent exist for any particular length of time before the act is committed. The act need not be brooded over, considered, or reflected upon for a week, a day, an hour, or even a minute. There need not be any appreciable time between the formation of the intent and the act. The intent to kill may be formed at any time before the act, including the instant before the act, and must continue to exist at the time of the act. You cannot look into a person's mind to find intent. Intent to kill must be found, if found at all, from the defendant's acts, words, and statements, if any, and from all the facts and circumstances in this case bearing upon intent. Intent should not be confused with motive. While proof of intent is necessary to a conviction, proof of motive is not. Motive refers to a person's reason for doing something. While motive may be shown as a circumstance to aid in establishing the guilt of a defendant, the state is not required to prove motive on the part of a defendant in order to convict. Evidence of motive does not by itself establish guilt. You should give it the weight you believe it deserves under all the circumstances. If you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, as to the first count, caused the death of Bart A. Halderson and, as to the second count, the fifth count, caused the death of Krista R. Halderson, with, as to each count, the intent to kill, you should find the defendant guilty of first-degree intentional homicide. If you are not so satisfied, you must find the defendant not guilty. Count 2 and Count 6 of the information each allege that the above-named defendant, Chandler M. Halderson, on and or between July 1, 2021 and July 8, 2021, in Dane County, Wisconsin, did deliver written and or oral communication with intent to induce a false belief that the defendant had knowledge of the whereabouts or physical condition of a missing person, Bart A. Halderson as to Count 2, and Krista R. Halderson as to Count 6, both contrary to WisStat Section 946.48, Sub 1. To these two charges, Chandler M. Halderson has entered a plea of not guilty, which means the state must prove every element of each offense beyond a reasonable doubt. Section 946.48 of the Criminal Code of Wisconsin is violated by one who sends, delivers, and or causes to be transmitted to another any written or oral communication with intent to induce a false belief that the sender has knowledge of the whereabouts of a missing person. Before you may find the defendant guilty of either of these offenses, the state must prove by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the following two elements were present for each count. Number one, the defendant sent, delivered, or caused to be transmitted a written or oral communication to Dane County Sheriff's deputies. Element two, the defendant did so with the intent to induce a false belief that he had knowledge of the whereabouts of a missing person, specifically Bart A. Halderson as to Count 2 and Krista R. Halderson as to Count 6. This means that the defendant had the mental purpose to cause the Dane County Sheriff deputies to believe that he had knowledge of the whereabouts of a missing person, specifically Bart A. Halderson and Krista R. Halderson, or was aware that his conduct was practically certain to cause Dane County Sheriff's deputies to believe that he had knowledge of the whereabouts of a missing person. Again, specifically Bart A. Halderson and Krista R. Halderson. You cannot look into a person's mind to find intent. Intent must be found, if found at all, from the defendant's acts, words, and statements, if any, and from all the facts and circumstances in this case bearing upon intent. If you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that the two elements of this offense have been proved, you should find the defendant guilty. If you are not so satisfied, you must find the defendant not guilty. Count 3 and Count 7 of the information each allege that the above-named defendant, Chandler M. Halderson, on and or between July 1, 2021 and July 8, 2021 in Dane County, Wisconsin, did, as to Count 3, dismember the corpse of Bart A. Halderson with the intent to conceal a crime, and as to Count 7, dismember the corpse of Krista R. Halderson with the intent to conceal a crime, both contrary to Wistat Section 940.11, Sub 1. These two charges, Chandler M. Halderson has entered a plea of not guilty, which means the state must prove every element of each offense charged beyond a reasonable doubt. Section 940.11, Sub 1 of the Criminal Code of Wisconsin is violated by one who mutilates, disfigures, or dismembers a corpse with intent to conceal a crime or avoid apprehension, prosecution, or conviction for a crime. Before you may find the defendant guilty of each of these offenses, or either of these offenses, the state must prove by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the following two elements were present for each count. Element 1, the
Patty says he's got a juicy fruit tie. I do like the bow tie. John Bubba, I think he looks nice.
defendant dismembered a corpse. Element 2, the defendant dismembered a corpse with the intent to conceal a crime. This requires that the defendant acted with the purpose to conceal a crime. You cannot look into a person's mind to find intent. Intent must be found, if found at all, from the defendant's acts, words, and statements, if any, and from all the facts and circumstances in this case bearing upon intent. If you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that both elements of this offense have been proved, you should find the defendant guilty. If you are not so satisfied, you must find the defendant not guilty. Count 4 and Count 8 of the information each allege that the above-named defendant, Chandler M. Halderson, on and or between July 1, 2021 and July 8, 2021 in Dane County, Wisconsin, did, as to Count 1, hide the corpse of Bart A. Halderson with the intent to conceal a crime, and as to Count 8, hide the corpse of Krista R. Halderson with the intent to conceal a crime, both contrary to Wistat Section 940.11, Sub 1. To these two charges, Chandler M. Halderson has entered a plea of not guilty, which means the state must prove every element of each offense charged beyond a reasonable doubt. Section 940.11, Sub 2 of the Criminal Code of Wisconsin is violated by one who hides or buries a corpse with intent to conceal a crime or avoid apprehension, prosecution, or conviction for a crime. Before you may find the defendant guilty of either of these offenses, the state must prove by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the following two elements were present for each count. Element 1, the defendant hid a corpse. Element 2, the defendant hid a corpse with the intent to conceal a crime. This requires that the defendant acted with the purpose to conceal a crime. You cannot look into a person's mind to find intent. Intent must be found, if found at all, from the defendant's acts, words, and statements, if any, and from all the facts and circumstances in this case bearing upon intent. If you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that both elements of these offenses have been proved, you should find the defendant guilty. If you are not so satisfied, you must find the defendant not guilty. In reaching your verdicts, Examine the evidence with care and caution. Act with judgment, reason, and prudence. Defendants are not required to prove their innocence. The law presumes every person charged with the commission of an offense to be innocent. This presumption requires a finding of not guilty, unless, in your deliberations, you find it is overcome by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty. The burden of establishing every fact necessary to constitute guilt is upon the state. Before you can return a verdict of guilty, the evidence must satisfy you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty. If you can reconcile the evidence upon any reasonable hypothesis consistent with the defendant's innocence, you should do so and return a verdict of not guilty. The term reasonable doubt means a doubt based upon reason and common sense. It is a doubt for which a reason can be given, arising from a fair and rational consideration of the evidence or lack of evidence. It means such a doubt as would cause which would cause a person of ordinary prudence to pause or hesitate when called upon to act in the most important affairs of life. A reasonable doubt is not a doubt which is based on mere guesswork or speculation. A doubt which arises merely from sympathy or from fear to return a verdict of guilt is not a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is not a doubt such as may be used to escape the responsibility of a decision. While it is your duty to give the defendant the benefit of every reasonable doubt, you are not to search for doubt. You are to decide whether the state has overcome the presumption of the defendant's innocence and proven the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The lawyers will now make opening statements. The purpose of an opening statement is to give the lawyers an opportunity to tell you what they expect the evidence will show so that you will better understand the evidence as it is introduced.
Oh, that's cool, Judy. Ole Miss. My niece is in her last year there. Okay, so we'll pull him off here. I just thought it was important to listen to the first part of it because now we know what's expected of the jury, right? We know what the charges are. Let's start this off right because with the Waukesha trial, I was all over the place. I mean, my ADD was kicking in. Every time Brooks would say boo, I'd jump and do a video on it. So we're going to start from the beginning and go forward. And before we do, I probably need to change the bottom banner because this is going to get into some sensitive content. Because he is starting out with the prosecution's going to do the opening statements. He's going to talk about the things that at this point he was allegedly accused of doing. We know he did it. There's like Zephyr said, was it Zephyr? I think it's Zephyr said this. Tons of evidence against this guy, right? Tons of evidence. So we'll see. Casey, she said, I do like what Casey said here. Entire trial done very well. The audio is great. Camera work just well produced. Now as for the defense attorney, that's a different story. Well, yeah, you guys are going to get a piece of the defense attorney tonight because she's going to do opening statements too. The difference in her opening statements and the prosecution's opening statements, hers is about what? Not even 5 minutes long. I don't know. It's his defense. I don't know. I think they went to breakfast. I think the trial started. They were at IHOP getting one of those tutti frutti things with all the syrup and the fruit on it and just, chumming down on those pancakes because the trial was happening and the defense attorneys were like, hey, we're here. It was just crazy. Anyway, all right, I'm going to stop with the commentary. Let's get moving on with the opening statements. Oh, I got to push play.
Could I have the screen turned on, Judge? On the left HDMI. While he's doing that, I'll promise you he'll give you a copy of that, by the way. You don't have to remember all of those instructions. My name is William Brown. I'm the Deputy District Attorney of Dane County. Yesterday, you met Andrea Raymond. Together, we're the prosecutors in the case. You heard a little bit about how the process worked in jury selection, and you probably thought you were being strung along the whole time, and in a bit you were. Everyone was trying to gauge your knowledge of the case, maybe any preconceived notions you had about the criminal justice system. Ms. Vera asked you a lot of questions about what you would think if she did nothing and sat there, and those were good questions. I won't do nothing in this case because it would be a very short trial if I did. You're going to hear from me, Ms. Raymond, quite a bit. Our job in a case is to present evidence. That means to call witnesses. The judge talked about what evidence is. When we think of evidence, sometimes we think of, especially a murder case, you're in a murder case, you think of the gun. And you'll get that. There'll be a gun. You'll see that. But evidence is so much more. The first thing evidence is the first thing the judge mentioned. Evidence is first the sworn testimony of witnesses, both on direct and cross-examination. When people raise their right hand and they swear to tell the truth, that's evidence. Now, you as jurors can decide whether you believe it or not. Does this person have any bias or prejudice? Do they have anything to gain by what they're saying? Do they have anything to lose? All those things are up to you. But sworn testimony is evidence. Photographs are evidence. Videos are evidence. Statements made by people involved in the case, including Mr. Halderson, are evidence. Our job is to, over the course of the next couple of weeks, present evidence to show you the path of what we believe happened, which is that Chandler Halderson killed his parents, dismembered their bodies, and hid them around southern Wisconsin.
Craziness.
I've been talking about Bart and Krista Halderson. You've heard their names mentioned numerous times by the judges here. That's Bart and Krista Halderson. I'm going to try to use some photos as I talk to maybe guide us along. Some people are more visual learners, some aren't. That's Bart and Krista Halderson, couple in their early 50s, living in Windsor, Wisconsin, a quiet street, in a quiet house, kind of in a quiet town. If you don't know Windsor, think just south of DeForest. Maybe if you're heading up toward the Dells, when you see the Fleet Farm on your left, if you looked right, that's Windsor. That's the Halderson home. At this point, perhaps it would be best if I told you a little bit about the Halderson family. Bart, the father, Krista, the mother. They have two sons, Chandler, the defendant, and his older brother, Mitchell. Chandler and Mitchell are close in age, but Mitchell's a little bit older. The time this all happened, living in the Halderson home, was Bart Halderson, Krista Halderson, and Chandler. Mitchell had moved out. Mitchell had a job working as an IT person for a local corporation, doing pretty well in life. He's engaged, doing pretty well in life. Buying a house, adult things, growing up. But in July of 2021, it's Bart and Krista living in that house, and their adult 23-year-old son, Chandler Halderson, living in his room. Now, all of the events I'm going to describe, for the most part, take place during the first week of July, from the 1st to about the 8th. So I put up a calendar. This is not evidence in the case, I suppose. It might be. Maybe I'll mark it as an exhibit. But it's to provide some reference. And I put the little flag on there because if you remember this year, the 4th of July was on a Sunday. Everyone celebrated, of course, all weekend. A lot of places celebrated on Saturday. But the 4th of July was on a Sunday. Now I'm giving my opening statement. The judge told you opening statements aren't evidence. And in fact, that's the reason you don't have notebooks. I'd like to think so. You have to pay attention to me, but that's not true. It's because nothing I say is evidence. So as I say things up here, what I'm saying is what I expect to prove in the next couple of weeks. But what I expect to prove beyond any reasonable doubt is that on July 1st, 2021, somewhere between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m., Chandler Halderson murdered his parents. It's an important date, and it's an important time to remember. July 1st, between 3 and 5. But the story doesn't start there. And this trial wouldn't be 3 to 4 weeks if the trial ended there. The story starts a week later, on July 7th, 2021. nearly a week after killing his parents, but no one in the world knowing. Chandler Halderson walks into the Northeast Precinct of the Dane County Sheriff's Office and says, "I'd like to file a missing persons report." He sits down with sheriff's deputies, and you'll meet them today, and he gives a long story. My parents, they just haven't come back from the cabin. They were there this weekend. We have a cabin up north. It's in White Lake, up in Langlade County. It's pretty far up north, a couple of hours. They just haven't come back yet. They were going to come back Monday or Tuesday, and I don't know where they are. Who were they with? The deputies ask. I don't know. I helped them pack Thursday night. They must have left Friday early before I woke up at 6. Who'd they go with? I don't know. Where are their cars? Well, they're still at the house. What'd you help them pack? Bottles of liquor, lots of money, tools, silver bars. Why were they going up there? Some people they were fixing a window. Some people there was a plumbing issue, storm damage. The story varied. Sometimes they took just money. Sometimes they took just liquor. But over that day and the next, talking to numerous sheriff's deputies, detectives, including those detectives, he gives this bizarre story of his parents leaving in an unknown car, going to a cabin with an unknown couple, with an unknown amount of money, for really an unknown reason. So sheriff's deputies do what cops do, which is they ask him, "Have you heard from him?"
Thank you,
And he says,
Zephyr.
"Yeah. I got a text from my mom." And he did. He showed him his phone. Made it safely. This is from Krista Halderson to Chaz. That's what his family calls him. Not Chandler, they call him Chaz. Made it safely. Can't get anything through, though. Yes, it's packed. Going to White Lake today for the parade. We'll be home Monday night, Tuesday early. I love you lots. So at this point, the sheriff's deputies don't know what they're dealing with. These folks get up there and decide, we're going to go to the casino for a few days. We're going to play hooky. Didn't make a lot of sense. They started talking to coworkers and realized these people had never no-called, no-showed, missed work, which they both did on Friday. Did they crash their car? Did this other couple kidnap them? Where the hell are they? But what good police do, and what they did in this case, is they start looking into the people who saw them last, who were with them last, who reported them missing. And in this case, all three of those things, the person who purportedly saw them last, was with them last, and reported them missing, were the same person. It was Chandler Halderson.
It's always the last person that saw
So what the police did was started to look into Chandler Halderson. And this is all occurring in the same 24-hour, 48-hour period. And what they learn about him isn't suspicious at all. He's a Madison College student, MATC. They go by Madison College now, if you didn't get the email. Madison College student. He's about to graduate. He's studying renewable resource engineering, kind of a hybrid IT degree with solar panels, things of that sort. He's about to get a certificate. But things had looked bright for him. He'd recently been working at American Family Insurance. He's working from home like most of us the last couple of years. But he's working a good job at American Family Insurance. And not only was he working a good job, Chandler had just gotten a better job. He got hired at SpaceX. He was about to embark on a career that people in the IT field could only dream of. He's planning to move to Titusville, Florida. That's where SpaceX operation is, down in Florida, with his girlfriend. They'd rented an apartment. They'd bought a car. And not only was this not someone who was antisocial, he was pro-social. He was police and the Department of Natural Resources on their rescue diving team. He was a scuba diver, working with the police. The only thing that was a bit odd is he'd recently suffered a head injury. Fallen down the stairs, had terrible concussion, was unable to move for the most part. Had to wear a neck brace. He was permanently, perhaps injured. All of those things threw police off.
Oh, the
from
neck
thinking
brace.
it was Chandler. He had anything to do with this. And at that point, for all they knew, as sad as it is, Bart and Krista and an unknown couple were crashed into a ditch somewhere between here and White Lake, Wisconsin, dead from a car crash. So they started looking. Deputies are sent up north. The Langlade County Sheriff's Department is searching a cabin. No one had ever been there. It didn't look like anyone had been there at all in years. It was run down. The grass hadn't been mowed. There was no food in the refrigerator. No one had been there. So the police expand their search, and they start talking to not only just Chandler, people about Chandler. They start talking to people who were with Chandler that weekend. Specifically, they talked to his girlfriend, a young girl named Catherine. She goes by Cat. And Cat says, I was with him like all weekend. We had a normal 4th of July weekend. We went out to my family's farm. We got a farm. There was a pool. We ate dinner. Chandler was having the concussion issue and he couldn't really move his legs. And so he asked to use their pool the next day because he thought that was good therapy. So the police, what do they do next? They go talk to the person who owns the farm. And they say, was Chandler out here? And she goes, yeah, he was out here on the 4th of July. But you know what? He showed up the next day by himself. He showed up the next day by himself. I told him he could come back anytime, as we just say to people, not expecting they're going to roll into your house the next day. She says he was acting bizarre. Said that he had a doctor's appointment and they'd given him some bad news that he was going to lose his job at SpaceX because he couldn't travel. He couldn't attend orientation to start. And she goes, he asked to use the pool. And of course I said yes. This woman will testify and she'll tell you that she sat in her house for a while, perhaps a bit weirded out that someone had just shown up at her rural farm, but she let him have his space.
And he's weird already anyway.
But about an hour later, she goes down to the pool to check on him. He's not there. No one had opened the pool. No one had been in the pool. But she sees his car. It's parked out in the field, away from the pool, backed in toward where that grass is a bit longer, and had its hatch up. She thought, boy, that was strange. But she thought maybe he's just on a walk. So she goes in the pool. She said, I'm just going to go in the pool. If you remember that weekend, it's extraordinarily hot. She starts swimming. She says, then I see Chandler. He's walking out of the woods in that area. Now, at this point in the investigation, the police are out there with this woman. They're out on the farm. And she says he walked out over there. And you'll hear from the Detective Brett Baverstock, who was out there. And he'll tell you that his eyes kind of shifted up and he saw vultures. And I promise the photos are only going to go this far for right now. But the police walked about 20 yards into the woods. And in that pile of debris,
Daddy,
under dozens of sticks, bushes, and dirt, they found Bart Halderson. Now, when I say they found Bart Halderson, I need to explain that.
heads up warning.
They found a human torso. Someone had crudely chopped off the head, the arms, and sawed off the legs in the middle of the thigh, leaving the underwear on in the beginnings of the pants. They removed the sticks and brush over a course of a few hours. They brought out doctors from the medical examiner's office to make sure everything was done appropriately. They rolled the torso over. There were gunshots in the back. This man had been shot in the back and chopped up. At this point, the farm, a beautiful farm, cultivated for years with wildflowers, kind of an Eden of sorts, was turned into a crime scene. Police swarmed the place. Drones were in the air, cadavers, dogs were on the grounds. Everyone's looking through absolutely everything they could, but it's a farm. There's a million places things could be. But one detective said, look at that in the woods. Is that a garbage can full of a tarp? It was. And I'll tell you that tarp was taken to the Wisconsin State Crime Lab eventually. Bart Halderson, Krista Halderson, their blood was all over it. Another detective said, that spot where Chandler was walking out of the woods, there's an oil barrel there, like an old fuel tank with a hole in it. That's right where the car was parked. So she peeks her head in. And that's what she sees. Broken saw blades, hand saws, scissors, tree loppers, all of them tested by the state crime lab, all of them covered in human flesh and blood of Bart and Krista Halderson. The farm was searched extensively, and I'll tell you that some months later, things were even continuing to be found. Up to this fall, in October, the homeowner, the person who owns the farm, was tearing apart a barn trying to clean it. And there in a barn about 100 yards from where Bart Halderson was found, the murder weapon behind a bunch of boards on the side of the barn. At this point in the investigation, the police knew they needed to start talking to Chandler. He's seen coming out of the location where his dad's body was, just brutally chopped apart. The tools, the cutting instruments are found there. So they do what police do. They bring him downtown. But they ask him, and he's at the house, and they ask him and his girlfriend to come downtown with them. And they do. And that girlfriend, Kat, is in one room, and Chandler is in another. Chandler, and you'll see this, we'll play it, for over an hour meets with police, and again regurgitates this odd story of his parents with this missing couple in a random car, going places that no one really knew. Or Kat, in the other room, she's vomiting information to the police, literally vomiting at times, but also vomiting information in terms of she has her phone out. She's giving them pictures. She's providing every single detail she can because she'll tell you when she testifies. She's one of these people that watches these crime shows. And if someone's missing, you got to exclude the people closest to him first. And she thought, that's what we got to do. Chandler didn't have anything to do with this. I didn't have anything to do with this. We got to get to the people who did. And the first step is we got to exclude us. She didn't for a second think that Mr. Halderson had done anything wrong. She thought she was with him most of the weekend. And I'll tell you right now, Kat did nothing wrong. Kat was an unknowing, unwilling accomplice to some of this, but she did absolutely nothing wrong. And she'll tell you, she liked Mr. and Mrs. Halderson. There were the normal disputes you'd have with your boyfriend or girlfriend's parents. Maybe you want to go out a lot and they don't let you. Maybe you want to hang out more than they don't want to. But she liked him. Her phone is full of messages between her and Mrs. Halderson, friendly in all respects. Kat meets with police not just once, but multiple times. And in one of these meetings, she says, you know what was weird? Is this weekend, when I was with Chandler, while his parents were at the cabin, I left the house early one day, on Saturday, in fact, Saturday, July 3rd. And she says, he told me he was going to do chores that morning around the house. But when I looked at my Snapchat, I saw his location was in a weird spot. If you don't know, on Snapchat, you can set it up so that other people can see exactly where you are. A GPS tracker on you at all times, if you will. Chandler had that set up with his girlfriend.
Good night, Kimmy.
And she goes, it was so weird where he was. I took a screenshot of it on my phone. And that's what it showed. Chandler was saved as hubby in her phone. That's perhaps a term of endearment between two folks dating in their 20s. But she said, at 8:58 in the morning, when he was supposed to be doing chores on Saturday, July 3rd, I thought it was strange that he was in what appears to be a forest on the banks of the Wisconsin River near Prairie du Sac. The police took that. They identified immediately where that location was, just based on looking at it. That's a bridge. Couldn't be hard. Out they go. The drones go up. The dogs go out. The search team starts searching. Very quickly, and I promise this is as far as the photos will go, they find the remains of Krista Halderson. Now, when I say Krista Halderson, I have to qualify that as well. We found her legs.
Oh, gosh.
One complete leg, then somewhat farther away in another bush, a foot, a thigh, but the same pattern.
His parents,
Crudely
y'all.
cut apart with appears to be handsaws, axes, things like that.
Oh, my gosh.
No more of Krista Halderson that's identifiable to her will ever be found. She's just those two legs. At this point, the police thought, this is just a strange location. Why would Chandler be out there? He'd been out there before. And they started talking to people, including girlfriends of his in the past, friends of his. And they say, yeah, Chandler really liked this location out on the Wisconsin River. He'd go there all the time. It's where he'd go swimming. When his friends came into town, that was the secret swimming spot. And one friend even said, you know what? Last year, he sent me a picture while he was out there. Kind of shirtless, hanging from a tree with a machete. I don't know. Didn't have a lot of significance at the time when the police saw it, but eventually someone realized the tree looks unique. Interesting V pattern right there. The hollowness of the tree as it goes down. The way in which 5 of those branches branch off.
The tree gave it away?
And eventually one of the detectives realizes why. Something clicked. It was the exact location he ditched his mother's remains.
Oh. Oh, my word.
That's about 100 feet away. So obviously, it shouldn't come to anyone's surprise, at some point Chandler was arrested. In fact, he was arrested on July 8th, 2021. When you're arrested for a lot of crimes, you go to jail, you get booked in, and not much more happens investigation-wise after that. They have what they need. But of course, that's not the case in a murder investigation, especially something like this. So Chandler's taken to jail, and the police start searching. When I say searching, you're going to hear about searches of the house, searches of this farm, searches of this property. You're going to hear about searches of landfills and ponds and ditches all across Dane County. But one of the things they started searching was, what was this guy doing on his phone that weekend? And oddly enough, most of what they found was nothing. Either Chandler hadn't Googled anything all weekend, except for the 8th, or he had deleted his search history. You'll never know. But remember, he was arrested on July 8th. Taken to the police station, and that's where they told him, hey man, we know what's going on. So meaning, while he was still on his phone on July 8th, he was still telling everyone his parents were missing. Not just the police. This kid was standing in his front lawn giving media interviews, all about the cabin and the unknown couple and the unknown car. He was going door to door in his neighborhood. My parents are missing. Can you help me out? Do you have any security cameras, by the way? And you'll hear from these neighbors. Some of them were so weirded out by what was going on that they secretly recorded those conversations. One of them, you'll hear, was a man who'd only been retired as a detective with the City of Madison Police for about a month. He recorded his conversation with Mr. Halderson. But while he's doing this that morning, what's he Googling? This is what he's Googling. Body found, Wisconsin. Woman's body found, Wisconsin. Wisconsin dismembered body found. We'll come back to the next two. Dead body found in Wisconsin. Body found in Milwaukee River. He's searching for whether they found his parents. And you'll hear in this case, he's starting to search because he's starting to get worried because the amount of police in his neighborhood has been ramping up and up and up because unbeknownst to him, they're finding his parents' remains. And you'll hear that while this is going on, while he's Googling these things, he's frantically calling police officers. Hey, why are there more cops in my neighborhood? Calls this guy, Brian Shunk. He records him. What's going on? There's more cops. Did something happen? Did you find something? The middle ones, State versus Peter Capuzzo. Probably means nothing to everyone. It meant nothing to me when I first saw it. The name rung a bell, and I wondered why. Not only does it show he Googled State versus Peter Capuzzo, it showed that he clicked on a link on the Wisconsin court's website and read something. What he read was a legal case, much like this one is the State versus Chandler Halderson. The State versus Peter Capuzzo, though, was a case that made it to the Court of Appeals based on some legal technicalities about a man who dismembered part of his family members and threw their bodies in the river. So at the same time, Chandler Halderson is going door to door in his neighborhood, crying about his parents being missing, talking to the local news, telling sheriff's deputies, signing documents saying they're missing. He's conducting legal research to get himself out of today, so that today never happens. Now, when I started with that calendar a while ago, and I said the police were initially thrown off because of one thing, and that was this text message from Krista. And it's real. I'll tell you, that text message is in all the search warrant returns from US Cellular. It's on the phone that we were able to search. We're not able to search every phone, but some of them are. Made it safely. Can't get anything through, though. Yes, it's packed. Going to White Lake today for the parade. Be home Monday night, Tuesday. Love you lots. Sent on the 4th of July. So the police started looking into that. And the first thing they found was White Lake. The parade was on July 3rd. Oh. Remember, the 4th of July this year was on a Sunday. So everyone celebrated on Saturday.
Mic drop.
So they started thinking, well, how the hell did this message get sent? So they searched the Halderson home where Chandler was. And in the garage, under a shelf, in a shoe, wrapped in aluminum foil, was his mother's phone, along with her driver's license.
Mm.
Police would later subpoena the records from US Cellular, the cell phone carrier that covers Chandler and the family. And they would look into what cell towers were being used when that message was sent. If you didn't know, all of you probably have cell phones. At any time, your phone is pinging off of different cell towers. It's not always the same. As you sit here, half of you might be using one tower and half of you might be using another. It's based on the workload of those towers. You'll hear about that. But it's generally an approximate area of where you are. That message on July 4th, Krista there's in pink, Chandler's in green. The message was sent from the Halderson home on July 4th. Chandler sent it to himself. So at this point, the investigators began to wonder, and perhaps you're beginning to wonder how the evidence will come out. How does this happen? How does this kid, with everything in the world going for him, promising new jobs, school, a girlfriend that loves him, willing to move across the country for him, or even physically, a kid who just suffered this major concussion, was unable to use his legs for the most part. How does this happen?
Buckle up, y'all.
And what you'll learn, it happens because none of these things are true. He wasn't going to Madison College. He wasn't studying renewable resource engineering. The people at American Family Insurance, they'd never even heard of him. There's no indication he'd ever even applied for a job, much less had any job at SpaceX. The apartment he told his girlfriend he'd rented and the car he'd bought, none of that was real. The Madison police, they don't even have a scuba diving team. Neither does the DNR. And this concussion he apparently suffered, he did go to the hospital. You'll hear. He said, yeah, he came in, he reported that he hit his head, falling down the stairs. I diagnosed him with a mild concussion, gave him a neck brace on the way out, told him he could use it if he needed it. But none of the things that Chandler reported to other people, the leg weakness, his inability to move, drive, travel, none of that was real. And given what you're going to find out in this case, you may conclude at the end of it, he never suffered any fall at all.
What's up, Dread?
What you may conclude is that it was all made up. Now, police started looking into all of these lies. Because how does a person who looks so promising, was able to convince so many people of his success, how are you able to keep this up? How are you able to catfish your family, your girlfriend, your brother, your friends? And they started to find things around the Halderson home, in the email accounts of Bart and Krista Halderson, in the email accounts of Chandler Halderson. When they talked about American Family Insurance, the first big lie Chandler was making up, again, the people at American Family Insurance, you'll hear them testify, they're directors of human resources. You never worked there, never worked for any of their affiliates, never worked for any of the companies that are associated with them. Chandler had been claiming to work there for a year, but he never had any money. And his father was an accountant, so his father would ask him questions pretty much daily. Why don't you have any money? Why haven't you paid any rent? And Chandler spun an amazing web of lies. First, it was, well, I'm a salary guy, but they were accidentally paying me hourly, so they just held my paychecks until they fixed it. Then it was, well, I gave them the wrong direct deposit info. Then it kind of shifted eventually. And he said, well, they were going to pay me, but now the amount is so much, they got to pay me so much money that when they deposited in the bank, they thought it was fake.
Yes.
And police started to find emails like this. This from Tom Selznick, a guy at American Family Insurance, a Northeast remote human resources guy, describing this. You're registered as salary, but you're making hourly. And these emails would go back and forth with Chandler and the HR person, and eventually he'd forward them to his father.
Oh, that's right.
But in the way a parent looks at their child as maybe telling the truth is not the way that you as jurors have to look at this. You, like the police, maybe have to take a more critical look at emails like this. And for one, notice, why is the guy who works at Human Resources at American Family Insurance using a Proton Mail generic email address? Why is the guy who's the Human Resources manager spelling the word resources wrong, saying he's the Human Recourses manager? It's comically fake.
Oh, Lord.
He emailed himself back and forth, trying to explain why he didn't have any money, and he forwards it to his dad. Now, here's where the story gets maybe a little more complex. Having a fake job solves a lot of riddles in your life. No one's hassling you to get a new job. No one's hassling you to do chores all day. The problem is, if your dad works from home, if he was an accountant, for instance, which he was, and which he did, you actually have to wake up early every day and go to work. So there he was. Messages between Bart and Chandler. Hey, are you up for your meetings? Yeah. Over and over again. So Chandler woke up. But he had nothing to do all day because his job was pretend. And so he sat on his computer playing video games. And I'm not against people playing video games. I'm a guy myself. People play video games. But video games, if you don't know, and some of you are of an age where you do, and some of you are an age where you don't, are a much more social thing than they used to be. When you play video games, you don't just sit on Nintendo 64 and play Mario by yourself. You're playing role-player games with people from around the world. And who's up early in the morning when Mr. Halderson had to wake up to attend his fake work meetings? People in the military who are stationed overseas. They speak English, they're American, but they're on a different time schedule. They're on his time schedule. Most people here probably play video games at night during weekdays. But every day, Mr. Halderson was able to wake up and find a group of friends to play video games with online, one of which was stationed in Germany. This friend was a guy named Andrew Smith. Now, Mr. Smith, Mr. Halderson became kind of best friends. They would talk all the time. They communicated in this video game all the time. And Mr. Smith, he'll testify, he's coming up here, lives down south, he's back in the US. He'll tell you that Chandler really liked an SKS rifle when they'd play some of these shooting games. It was just something he liked. Not a big deal, there's nothing wrong with that. But this past summer, about a month before the murders of Bart and Krista Halderson, this online friend, Andrew Smith, comes to visit Mr. Halderson and stays at the home with Bart and Krista. This is a picture of Mr. Smith in that perhaps crudely designed yellow shirt. That's Mr. Halderson. It's the only photo we have of them on that visit. You'll learn that Mr. Smith had gotten out of the military. He was done with it. But you also learn that he really likes guns. Like, he really likes guns. And he knew his friend liked SKS rifles. So when he visited him this year in June, he brought with him a gift, the SKS rifle that was found about 100 yards from Bart Halderson's body. Now, you'll meet Mr. Smith, and you'll probably concur with me after meeting him. He's not really probably a paperwork kind of guy. And so when he gave the gun to Mr. Halderson, he wanted to document that he transferred the gun, but he wasn't going to fill out any paperwork. So he just took the serial number of the gun. He put Mr. Halderson's driver's license next to it and snapped a picture on his phone. There's a clear picture of that. But that serial number matches the gun found in the barn 100 yards from Bart Halderson's body. And before Mr. Smith left, he decided he would gift his friend something else, which was about 400 rounds of high-powered ammunition. Now, you'll hear from Mr. Smith. Despite maybe his bizarre actions and maybe his bizarre statements he may make, he's not a suspect. Police proved he was in Texas at the time all of this happened. Another unknowing accomplice to Mr. Halderson's crimes. So at this point, Mr. Halderson's working a pretend job at American Family Insurance. He's not getting paid. His father, who's an accountant, is kind of on his case about it. And he's got to figure out something else. And the best way out of your pretend job is an even more pretend job. So around May, going into June of this past year, American Family wasn't going well. So Mr. Halderson decided to get a new job. He's going to be an astronaut. I work at SpaceX. This is messages to his girlfriend. I have a good feeling about SpaceX. I have a follow-up interview for Florida tomorrow. Shoot, sorry, I got the job. I have training next week over the computer and leave June 11th and start June 14th.
Wow.
He didn't give himself a lot of time, but what he gave himself was an escape hatch. He could move. He could end the lies that he had going on in his life about being a rescue scuba diver and working for American Family Insurance by simply moving to Florida. That presented with it one major problem, which was that job, which was also make-believe, would pay absolutely no better than the last job that was make-believe. So in late June, as he's supposed to start the job at SpaceX in Florida for Elon Musk, something happens in the Halderson family, something real. There's a change. Remember when I started off and I said there were two sons? His older brother gets hospitalized. That's real. It happened. Got diagnosed with diabetes and was having some complications. He's doing great now. Mr. Halderson uses that as an excuse to delay starting at SpaceX. It was a stroke of good luck for him, a stroke of bad luck, of course, for the family, but a stroke of good luck for him. But that only gave him a couple of weeks. So his brother, who's doing really well in life, engaged, house, real job, making a lot of money, suddenly he's in the hospital, being doted over by his family, by his mother. People care about him. So roughly a week later, when Chandler Halderson needs to think of a new lie to get out of the SpaceX lie, guess who ends up in the hospital? Being doted over by his mother and his family with a supposed neck injury. This is Father's Day of this year.
Oh my Lord,
in
that
late
picture.
June. It's Bart Halderson in the middle, Mitchell on the right. Of course, Chandler wearing a neck brace that no one told him he had to wear on the left.
What a weird.
Now, around this time, Chandler started telling people an extraordinarily bizarre set of claims. That he had a brain bleed, a hematoma, that he had spinal damage, that he needed his head drilled open, that he inability to use his legs at all. Couldn't drive. People had to do that for him. That he had nerve damage, that he needed to get a colostomy bag. But most importantly, he couldn't go to Florida. The doctors had told him he couldn't fly. Of course, that's not true. You'll see his medical records and you'll see his doctor testify. So suddenly this man, who was, for all intents and purposes, disabled, was being doted over by his family. People were making him meals. You'll see notes his mom was leaving for him. Call this neighbor if you need anything. She'll help you out. Couldn't drive, couldn't work, couldn't do chores. Now, a bit of a preview and a fast forward. This guy who's wearing a neck brace nearly every day in late June 2021 would have no problem just days later carrying large bags of ice out of gas stations to chill his father's cut-up body in a freezer. And you'll note, no neck brace. And in fact, you'll note in this case, Chandler Halderson is never seen in that neck brace again after July 1st, 2021, when he kills his parents. So the job lies are over for Chandler in his life. American Family Insurance, don't worry about that because he got this new job at SpaceX. In SpaceX, I can't go because I'm hurt. It was a perfect scenario. But there was one last lie that Chandler had to get out of. And that is he had told everyone he was going to MATC for college and that he was about to graduate. And you'll hear there's a hint of truth to that he was going there at one point. In fact, there's a hint of truth to all of these lies. He did go to MATC for like a semester. He failed out. But he wasn't going there anymore. And the parents were starting to grow suspicious. And we knew this because when we searched the house, we started to find notes on Bart Halderson's desk. Bart Halderson was one of these guys who prints his emails. I don't know if any of you print your emails, but some people, they get an email and they print it out. That was Bart. And we find one. It's an email between Bart and Krista, detailing a conversation that he had had with Chandler's advisors at MATC. Supposed to meet with someone else, so we met with this guy, Daniel Spieth. Chandler's going to get a solar certificate. He wasn't. He's registered for fall classes. He wasn't. He's in the IT program. He wasn't. All of these things, line by line, none of them true. But Bart Halderson talked to this person. So police honed in on something. That line. When I talked to the advisor, he sounds just like Chaz on the phone. And he gives this number.
Oh my gosh.
That is, of course, because Bart Halderson, when he talked to Chandler's college advisor, was just talking to Chandler, who had bought a burner phone, cheap phone from like Walgreens that you can buy with no service carrier. And police know that because they searched Chandler's bedroom and his desk drawer. They found that phone.
Idiot.
Now, this kept going. The lie about going to MATC or Madison College was the most extensive. There were emails, dozens, if not hundreds of emails going back and forth between supposed advisors at MATC and Chandler, and then he'd forward them to his dad from people like someone named Alyssa Brandt, 64. Sometimes Chandler would spell Brandt, B-R-A-N-D-T, sometimes just with a T and no D, depended on the day. But they all had the @Gmail address, not @madisoncollege.edu. And you'll hear from the people at Madison College, their people have real emails. They don't use Gmail.
He lived off mom and dad,
But it was
Louise.
over and over again. Alyssa Brandt was one of them. You heard about Daniel Spieth, also @Gmail. There was someone named Aaron Hoover, also @Gmail. In this one, Chandler's getting upset. I have to have a call with whomever's in charge within the next 30 minutes. I have been a student for over 3 years and I will be treated fairly. Of course, he's yelling at himself. All of these were fake. Back and forth to himself and eventually to his dad. The Halderson parents had to have been growing extraordinarily frustrated. Kid wasn't getting paid. He was injured suddenly. His college transcripts aren't coming through, so he can't get a job. So police looked at that original note again. they saw something interesting, which is in this sea of fake people, Daniel Spieth, Aaron Hoover, Tom Selznick, Alyssa Brandt, there was one name that stood out, Omar Jobe. And that name didn't stand out because it was fake. It stood out to the police because it was real. That is the only real person on any of these emails. And what we've discovered in this investigation is in just the day and a half prior to being murdered, Bart Halderson, Chandler's dad, called MATC and pretended to be Chandler to try to finally get some information on what's going on. Just as any of you could call any doctor and pretend to be your kid, you know their name, their social security number, their birthday, you can get through. You can get through those minor security things. Bart called MATC, said, I'm Chandler, and I want some answers. And for 17 minutes, Bart Halderson, just before his murder, talked to a man named Omar Jobe. Omar Jobe is a entry-level customer service guy at MATC. He's got no skin in the game, doesn't even really remember the call, but it was recorded for customer service purposes. And Bart Halderson questions Omar, and he's very mean at first, because in his mind, he'd been getting screwed around for a year on where his son's transcripts were and what degree program he was in and why he hasn't graduated yet. But toward the end of the call, Bart asked Omar Jobe, hey, do any of these people work there? Alyssa Brandt, Daniel Spieth, Aaron Hoover. And he's told no, they've never worked there. And in fact, they haven't. And he says, that'll be it then. That'll be it then are the last recorded words of Bart Halderson alive. Bart Halderson, shortly after that, sends a text message that ultimately sealed his fate, which was a text to his own son. And it says, I spoke with Omar Jobe. Now, what happens over the next 24 or so hours is a bit unknown. Homicide investigations are a lot of unknowns because the two people who are the victims, who maybe know the most about what happened, are of course dead. But there's not much verifiable information that happens over the next 24 hours. It's also unknown if Chandler even knew who Omar Jobe was. Of course, he wasn't going to MATC, so why would he know who some lowly entry-level customer service guy was? He wouldn't. But Bart Halderson did.
Super Kelly's in the house.
And when you look at Bart Halderson's work calendar that he maintains at his accounting firm, you see something quite interesting. Remember at the beginning, I said I wanted you to remember a date, a time, which was that the Haldersons were killed between 3 and 5 p.m. on July 1st, 2021. Guess what was on Bart's calendar at that exact time? He was supposed to have a meeting with the people at MATC with his son. So he's supposed to go to MATC and have this meeting at 3 o'clock on July 1st, 2021. Of course, that meeting couldn't happen because he wasn't going there and none of the people were real, but Bart Halderson knew that. Bart Halderson knew that.
Operation Reach.
And so Chandler had obviously figured that out at this point. There's no way out of this one. You can't get out of this lie. And so the next day, Chandler Halderson wakes up on July 1st and starts messaging his girlfriend. 7:26, I hardly slept. 7:27, stuff hasn't been going well for me lately. Just trying to plan for the next thing to fuck me over. 7:51, I had a great future planned. It's falling apart. 1:04, just 2 hours prior to the murders. I overheard they might go to the cabin with their friends, but I don't know. So somewhat of a full circle at this point. That's the moment Chandler Halderson decides to kill his parents and engage in this bizarre story of them missing at a cabin with an unknown couple in an unknown car at 1:04, July 1st. Now, shortly after this message, just about an hour and 10 minutes, Bart Halderson's getting ready to go to MATC for this meeting. perhaps to confront Chandler. Perhaps Chandler's going to confront him. Bart texts Chandler, "I'm ready whenever you are." That's about 50 minutes prior to when he was killed. Those are the last words ever recorded of Bart Halderson. His phone is never used, really. Again, he dies at some point. He never goes back to work. No one ever sees him. The neighborhood he lives in, riddled with security cameras, never see him again. I'm ready whenever you are. What the evidence will show in this case is that sometime after the "I'm ready whenever you are" message, and probably just around 3 o'clock when he was supposed to go to this meeting with MATC, Bart Halderson was shot in the back multiple times with a high-powered rifle. And after shooting his dad, Chandler texts his mom, "Dad's phone died. Text or call me. And get sewed on your way home. I have an extra hour of work." You know he didn't have an extra hour of work, but he was delaying her getting there because the evidence will show he needed to move things around, prepare for what he was about to do when she showed up. She responds, "Okay, I can," smiley face. Those are the last words of Krista Halderson alive. Shortly thereafter, around just after 5, neighborhood security cameras, the Haldersons didn't have one, but the neighborhood, a lot of people did, show Krista pulling in, getting out of the car, walking in. She's never seen again until her legs are found out by the Wisconsin River. But just after killing his mom and his dad, the evidence in this case will show that Chandler went on his phone. If you go on your phone, I don't know if any of you have ever taken a note. You can take notes on your phone. iPhone has an app called Notes. We got some raw data, and I'll put it up here in a second. I won't put the raw data because it's a bit challenging to see. But Chandler creates a note about 5:11 that day on July 1st, probably minutes after killing his parents. And the note reads, "Weekend chores, H2O2 lemon." H2O2 is the chemical name for hydrogen peroxide. You'll hear from people in this case, it's essentially a household cleaner to clean up blood. Lemon, it deodorizes things. Mixed together, it's a pretty cheap cleaning product you can have at home. So Chandler writes a note after murdering his parents, "H2O2 lemon, door handles, move your shit upstairs, get a job, and clean the floor." He then does just that. Spends the afternoon cleaning the house, eventually jumps in the shower. We know he's in the shower because his girlfriend and him FaceTime when they're in the shower. No judgment, but that's what happened. And the girlfriend took a screenshot. We know he's in the shower. They say they're good nights, and Chandler says, "I'm going to bed." But he doesn't. He goes to gas stations. And he's carrying out large bags of ice. Because what Chandler had done that night is what you all probably suspect by now. He had dismembered his parents, or at least started the process, and had to fit them inside of freezers that were in the Halderson home. Freezers, they're cleaned. There's still some evidence around. That night, I'm not going to show many photographs for a little bit, just because I think you deserve to kind of be eased into some of the things you're going to see. That night, what appears to have happened, what the evidence will show, is Mr. Halderson took items from around the house and began cutting apart his parents. Saw blades covered in Bart and Krista's blood. An axe, Bart and Krista's blood. Hand saws, things of that sort, covered in Bart and Krista's blood. He cleaned the house as best he could, and you'll hear about that. But still, blood spatter found of Bart and Krista's blood around the house. And he had a plan. It wasn't a well thought out plan, but he had one. And that was he was going to burn the remains in the family fireplace there in the house. So it's July 1st. And if any of you remember, 4th of July weekend's pretty hot this year. People in the neighborhood thought it was a little bit weird that someone's fireplace was going on. They smelled stuff. One person, this neighborhood's full of retired cops, but one retired cop said, "I smelled like a barbecue, smelled like a pig roast." And he said that just not knowing what it was at the time, talking to the police. And that night, a neighbor who had a security camera behind the Halderson home, way far away, was able to catch something. Because it was pitch black at night, it was able to catch just a little glimpse of all the windows in the Halderson house. We have an expert that's going to come in who works with video and light analysis. And he's going to tell you, he was able to figure out which window that was. And the window it was that he was looking at in that camera footage that kind of just piqued his attention was the window by the fireplace. And for many hours over the course of that night, the light flickered, came on, died down, on, down. But in the early morning hours of the next day, he'd been up all night doing this. Because you'll learn, you really can't burn human remains. Your home fireplace is not going to get hot enough to do that. It takes an extraordinary amount of heat. If you go to like a crematorium, you're inducing it with oxygen, chemicals, not a residential fireplace. But eventually, in the middle of the night, the fire started going well. It appeared that air was being pumped into it, and you'll see when they searched the Halderson home, there was in fact a fan found right next to the fireplace, next to a tape measure, trying to make sure the remains were the right size as they went in the fireplace. But that light at one point grew and grew and grew, and it got very bright in one room. And then all of a sudden, the kitchen light came on, and then all the lights went out. I don't know if anyone's ever taken a hot Pyrex pan out of the stove and put water in it, or dumped hot water on your windshield on your car in the winter, but it explodes the glass. The evidence in this case will show that what happened was the fire had gotten out of control, burning these human remains. Human fat was rendering out. It was igniting.
Oh,
so Chandler threw water on it.
Oh,
but when you throw water on your residential fireplace, you break the glass. And that's exactly what happened. Just above that broken glass panel, which is clearly shattered, you see the paint kind of bubbled off from the heat. This is in the search of the home some week later. Fireplace is clearly used. Police note something interesting about this photograph, which is, despite being clearly used, the logs are rebuilt. Someone had cleaned out all the ashes and rebuilt it. Clean logs, newspaper, one burnt piece in the middle. But what stuck out to police right away was that little rock right there. They thought, what is that? You'll hear from the people who collected this evidence. You'll hear from an arson specialist from the Department of Justice, a guy named Bill Boswell, who come in. You'll hear from a forensic anthropologist, a doctor named Cristina Figueroa Soto, who will tell you, we were all interested in what that was because it was out of place. So they pulled it off and they put it on one of these fancy police deals. And the forensic anthropologist took one look at it. And she said, oh, this is a human skull. He had burned his parents' heads in that fireplace. Later, the police would go through the ash trap of that fireplace, and they would find human remains, facial bones, the knee bones, which, because we found Krista's legs, by deduction, had to be Bart, all in the ash trap of that fireplace. They were all cataloged. Now, burnt remains can't be tested for DNA. There's no biological material left, but they're able to tell it's human based on the structure of the bone. And you'll hear from the anthropologist who will talk about that. So that's what happened on July 1st. Now you're going to hear about all of those days in between Bart and Krista dying at 3 o'clock on the 1st, all the way through the police report. But to summarize, Chandler stayed up all night, that night of the 1st. Obviously, things weren't going well, burning his parents' remains. So the next day, perhaps not having slept, he walked into Fleet Farm at 1 a.m. to buy a tarp. He's on video. He knew his girlfriend was spending the night that night, so he spent the whole day cleaning. But he's sending her text messages, which you'll see throughout the day, asking her to bring him hydrogen peroxide and a mop, because he still needed to clean up. The next day, Saturday, July 3rd, 2021, His girlfriend leaves early in the morning. That's the day she snaps that picture of him out by the Wisconsin River dumping off his mom's remains. Spends the rest of the day hanging out. But when he goes home and says he's going to bed that night, this young man who supposedly couldn't drive or carry heavy objects, his phone records show that he's up near the Wisconsin River in Portage, as if you're driving the interstate up to the Dells, right when you cross the Wisconsin River, off in the state land there to the right. For about an hour in the middle of the night, the police tried to search that area. It was impossible with the currents. Whatever remains were thrown in there or lost forever. July 4th, 2021, this is the day he texts himself. Spends the day with his girlfriend's family, goes to their farm to use the pool. That's the day he says, hey, can I come back tomorrow? Goes to some fireworks. He's living a normal life. No mention of his parents. The next day, takes out the garbage in the morning. Who knows what was in that garbage can? We've thoroughly searched the landfills, but it's impossible to find anything. But he took out the garbage. He goes out to the farm to supposedly use the pool where he's seen walking out of the woods. Cell phone tower records prove that he was out there on the farm. Remember I told you he told that person that he was having trouble at work and school and having a bad doctor's appointment. He never went to any doctor's appointment that day. Phone records show he never talked to any doctor. It was all a ruse to be able to go out in the woods and hide his father's body. The next day, not much happens because Chandler was up all night. Again, that light analysis shows all night, the garage light on and off. The garage, of course, being where we found some of these tools, the axe covered in blood. He's cleaning up. At 4:30 in the morning, for no apparent reason, he drives around the city of Madison. There's no idea what he did there. But he's not doing much. But people begin questioning him about his parents. He just says they're late. The person most worried, perhaps, is his girlfriend. She thought that was unlike them. The next day, he drives back to the farm, throws a bag of bloody rags into their garbage can. That's out by the street.
Jeez.
And at 11:22, he texts his girlfriend that he's finally going to the police. We know the bag of rags came from his house because they were in the Target bag his girlfriend picked up from Target, and she did the curbside pickup. So her name was printed on the outside. It was when she brought him hydrogen peroxide.
Oh,
He
God,
filled
he's
the bag with bloody rags and left it at the house.
what an idiot.
The next day, he starts Googling body found, Wisconsin dismembered body found. He's walking door to door asking about security cameras in his neighborhood. And at 4 p.m., they take him downtown and they arrest him at 6:41. So that's the story. That's why you're here for a couple weeks. Like I said in the beginning, a lot of
No big deal.
cases end with the murder. This one, it's just a small piece of the puzzle. None of the things that happen after and none of the things happened before make any sense without knowing the murder happened on a specific day at a specific time. But the evidence in this case you'll find is overwhelming. Chandler Halderson killed his parents on July 1st, 2021. He cut up their bodies with axes and saws and knives. And he didn't even give them the dignity of having a funeral or even a final resting place in one piece or together. Their remains were scattered across Dane County, in public land, on farms, in garbage cans, in rivers, and perhaps every ditch is a possibility in this county. You'll find the evidence in this case is overwhelming. Now, over the next couple of weeks, I'll make you a couple promises as your prosecutor in this case. I'm not here to waste your time. But of all the constitutional rights we talked about of Chandler, he has them. I want you to respect them. There's another one that you should know, which is this is the only time we get to have this trial. You get one trial in the United States of America, and I have to do it right. So if that means calling a lot of witnesses, I apologize in advance.
He is
If it
good.
means calling experts to say things that maybe you already know, I apologize in advance. But I'm going to do my job right as your prosecutor. Second, you're going to see terrible photographs. There were approximately 5,000 photographs taken in this case. You're going to see maybe total a couple hundred of actual body parts, maybe a couple dozen. We have scoured those photographs and tried to remove ones that are just horrible to see because of the conditions the bodies were in, because of insects and maggots and things of that sort, and instead are trying to only show you photographs that help you understand how the remains were hidden, where they were hidden, how they were dismembered. To the extent possible, we're using cleaner photographs that were taken by the Dane County Medical Examiner. I promise you, I'm not trying to pull on anyone's heartstrings. I'm not trying to make this overly emotional. You might feel emotional. I suspect many of you have never seen anything like what you're going to see in the next couple of weeks. But I promise to do my best to limit the amount. And lastly, I promise to just ask questions, a lot of questions, because you're the jury in this case, and you deserve to hear absolutely everything. It will be a struggle. You'll get sick of walking back and forth to these jury rooms. You might get sick of each other. I hope not. But it's an important task. What happened here shouldn't happen, but it did. And so in a couple weeks, when I stand up here and Ms. Raymond stands up here, I'm going to ask you to deliver a verdict of guilty, to finally bring some much needed truth to Chandler Halderson. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Brown.
He's good.
Also, could Attorney Brown?
Now, before we get to the defense's, whatever they do, you guys, Judy made a great comment. She's like, he memorized all that opening and never looked down at notes. He had to have something he was looking at. But that was a wonderful opening. And guys, that was a lot of freaking details. That was a lot. Of course, he had his little PowerPoint thing or whatever, but yeah. So do you guys see why I wanted to do this case now? Do you see all the details that are involved and the dumb things that this guy did? I mean, it's going to get good. We're going to get into all kinds of craziness here. We're going to have fun with it. Not that, we're going to be respectful, but gosh. Ooh, yes. Okay, let's get on to the other one, to the defense's attempt to show up.
Could whoever's giving the opening come up? We don't have to. We can do this without going on. Just want to discuss time.
Yeah, the prosecutor, he has passion, Judy. That's exactly what I would say.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our morning break at this point.
Oh, shoot.
And what will happen is Randy will take you back.
Hang on.
You'll go to your respective rooms. You'll have at least 15 minutes. We'll come back and continue. Go right ahead.
All right, for the jury.
It's been trimmed. Yeah, they did, didn't they, Elizabeth? The way they put all the pieces together. I don't know if I'd use the word jigsaw puzzle right now in this particular trial. No pun intended. But I couldn't either. I could never be a defense attorney either, Patty. I don't know. I can't. Well, first of all, I can't lie where it's flipped. Not that defense attorneys have to lie, but come on. They have to be able to like shrug it off their shoulders. They can't carry that burden, John said, did the car have tinted windows or brake lights?
Thank you. Please be seated.
He's on a ball. You okay, Frank?
Attorney Dorrell,
Thank you.
if you would, please.
Chandler Halderson did not murder his parents. He is not guilty of those crimes. Chandler Halderson is 23 years old, young man. He likes to play video games, play with his dogs, hang out with his girlfriend, and he lived peacefully in his parents' home. He was just a normal kid. He is a normal kid. So what did happen? What happened to the Haldersons? What happened in that Halderson's home? Remember those questions. They won't be answered at the end of this trial. Remember those questions at the end of this trial when you have to decide whether the state has proven to you that Chandler Halderson killed his parents, because they simply don't know what happened. They just told you what they think happened. We heard a lot of detail of the before and a lot of detail of the after. But one or two simple sentences, and then he killed his parents. The evidence will show you that there is a gap of evidence when it comes to that time frame.
Gap.
And your job is to listen to this evidence as jurors. Listen to the evidence from the perspective of a juror, not from the perspective of a story corroborator, corroborating the state's story. The role of being a juror is a different role than being a person. And that may sound strange, but it is. I think of when I went to law school way back in 1991, and there's a big part of me that feels I went into law school a human being who lived my life feeling things emotionally and relating to things emotionally. And I left law school a really different person. I learned how to be very logical, to apply facts, first to assemble facts, and then to apply these facts to the law as I learned it. Facts, laws, and rules, plus logic. That's your role here as a juror. Don't assume anything.
They're not going to have to.
Assumption is the mother of all mistakes. The story that you just heard assumes that Chandler Halderson killed his parents. You cannot assume anything. Your job is to presume that Chandler Halderson is innocent. Because he today is under the benefit of the presumption of innocence.
Coercion?
An assumption is reaching a conclusion without knowing all the information. A presumption is a principle that we all must follow. We must presume him innocent, and we must keep that presumption unless and until the state proves every element of every charge beyond a reasonable doubt. That's not easy.
Grouse.
It's not easy in a high-profile case. It's not easy in a case where we all know we're going to see evidence that is disturbing. But you must find a way, like I did in law school, to put your emotions, put your feelings aside, and use the logical part of who you are. Be a juror. Assemble the facts, know the law, and apply the logic without letting your feelings or emotions get in the way. And for each of you, you might have a different way of doing that. But I'm asking you here today to dig deep and find out how that will work for you so that you can presume my client innocent.
God, so weird. So weird.
Now, I'm not going to have a fancy PowerPoint here, and I'm probably not even going to talk very much longer. But as I comment to you on the evidence that you're going to see in this case, I want to highlight a couple of things. First of all, and the judge already indicated this in some of the preliminary instructions, lack of evidence is evidence just as much as any evidence that is presented to you in the courtroom.
Poor Lenny.
Look for what's missing. Look for alternate explanations. Because the second thing I want to tell you is that evidence of one thing is not necessarily evidence of another thing. One fact here could mean a different fact here, but it also could mean 3 or 4 other facts. So you have to avoid jumping to conclusions and really dig deep and look at what this all means. You're going to notice that many of the facts, many of the witnesses aren't going to be hotly contested by the defense in this case. And that goes back to what I was just saying. 12, 18, 100 reasonable people can look at a certain situation and form a different conclusion. And when you're talking about a system where you need to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt, you better make very sure that you're excluding all of the other things that these facts could mean. Because you just aren't going to know what happened. You're going to know some about the before. You're going to know some about the after. But you're not going to know what happened in the Haldersons' home. Who did it? What happened? How it went down? Whether it was intentional or not, which is an element of homicide. You're just not going to know. You're also going to not know how Bart and Krista would have reacted to these lies.
Oh, no, she didn't. She did not.
That's never going to be explained to you. Why lying turns into murder, or how lying turns into murder. Be sure to look for what you're not told, because that's evidence just as much as any evidence is.
Ooh, Barbara Seals.
I'm going to ask you to resist some things in this case as jurors.
You've been hanging out with John Boba too long.
We already talked a little bit about proof beyond a reasonable doubt. What that means is you must resist guessing. You must resist speculation. You must resist storytelling.
Is he sovereign?
And only convict when it's proven, or if it's proven, which it won't be, beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm going to ask you to resist losing your objectivity. May be hard for people in this case because of the graphic nature of what you've just been told or what you're going to see. But you need to resist losing that objectivity. Commit to being jurors, dispassionate, logical. Don't be swayed by fear.
Is she like an army recruiter? Be all you can be a juror. Don't be dissuaded. What's she talking about, Willis?
And I ask you to resist any pressure you might feel to convict Mr. Halderson of murder in this case. It's a little unorthodox, but I'm going to tell you, at the end of this case, Attorney Vera and I may stand before you here and say, you know what? They did convict him of this, but what evidence do you have of murder? I like to talk about the Constitution, probably because I'm a defense lawyer. But I think as jurors, as people coming into the system who aren't dealing with this every day, like we are here in the courtroom, you have to remember how important the Constitution is, how important the presumption of innocence is for Mr. Halderson, and how important proof beyond a reasonable doubt is. It's the highest standard we have. And it was created and perseveres to this day for this very reason. When someone is on trial for the most serious crime possible.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty bad.
And every little thing they do, every little lie they might have told is blown up and thrown against someone. That's when proof beyond a reasonable doubt matters. You jurors, not the sheriff's department, not Mr. Brown or Ms. Raymond or me or the judge get to decide this case. Individually, you all get a vote. You all get to make your own decision. I simply ask that you remember your role as jurors, that you find a way to stay objective, that you look for the key questions, the key facts that aren't answered, and that you hold the government to this high burden of proof. If you do those things, if you can resist these things, you will reach the right conclusion. Chandler Halderson did not murder his parents.
I guess she is saying that, Minnie T. She didn't say
Thank you, Attorney Doral.
She didn't say
At this point in time, we have to do a slight bit of.
Okay, that's all we're gonna do tonight. Yeah, let's talk about her for a minute. I'm gonna go from the bottom of the chat up because I want to talk about her. Well, first of all, she came in after somebody that did a great opening, and then she comes in with her voice. The voice was, bless her heart, but it's not her fault. She didn't do the crime. But B. Blanco says that the defense attorney is going to say Marcus did it with old girl Stephanie. B. Blanco. It's definitely her voice, Lenny and Patty. Y'all agree? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I'm going to go back up because I wanted to end this with the way we normally end some stuff. Would anybody like to come up on panel and say hello for a moment before I close out tonight? While you're thinking about that, I'm going to put you right here. Here's the link. Click the link. I'll do one at a time if you guys want to. Y'all are chicken. I bet none of y'all come up, but I'm putting it out there. I'm feeding the frenzy. So let's see what y'all do. Lenny was so cute. He was like, "Oh, it's such a nice. It's cool to see so many of the same people here. You guys are so nice." And Crazy Casey, she's like, "Yeah, we're one big happy family." And Lenny says, "Yeah, I'm happy to be a part of it." And then Bob Kitten follows up and goes, "Lenny, we're a bunch of sick puppies." You guys are hilarious. Barbara's over here talking about Waffle House being better than IHOP. Okay, I know I'm in the South, but I still like IHOP over Waffle House. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's Waffle House. They don't have pancakes. Barbara. John Bubba says, Barbara, Waffle House is where you learn hand-to-hand combat. If you can dodge a waffle, you can dodge a punch. If you can deflect a chair, you can deflect a club. Scattered, smothered, and covered. God, you guys are awesome. Okay, yeah, if you got a membership, big, huge thank you to Zephyr, who gave away 5 memberships tonight. Thank you so much, honey. And I followed back up with another 5 to say thank you. YouTube, and I can't lie, y'all. YouTube has started this new thing where they're gifting us 10 a month. So every now and then I'll probably do 5 at a time. I think I only can do 5 at a time. So I get 10 a month I can gift out. If you didn't get one, I'm sorry. Dadgummit. I can't choose who gets them. John Bubba, you needed to get one, and I'm sorry you didn't get one. Yeah, Bruiser, my baby Bruiser, he was giving some opinions there. He's settled in now, though. He's nice and warm. Why do you want to gift anonymously, Zephyr? I think it's sweet. You should get exposure here while I have your name right there, boom, on the big screen. Yeah, Kimmy, she went to bed, but yeah, she had asked, is this Wisconsin? Yes, it is. And people talk about Wisconsin and Florida. It's because their trials, it's because it's open trial. That's what they mostly have on flipping law and crime. So, and Zephyr had a good idea about him, all the fake things that he did and the lies and everything. Like, we need to start, I want to start handing out, I want to hand out some responsibilities to each of you guys. I'm gonna give you some homework. So, raise your hand if you want to get involved. We need somebody who's gonna keep a list of all of his ailments that he said that he was going through from when we all started with this until the end. Okay, not tonight, just as we go through this trial. So at some point down the road, we're gonna look to you to come up and say, "Yep, this was what he did." Then we need somebody to do a list of all the lies he told. Now, that's going to be a really long list. So maybe 2 of you guys should get in on that one. And when you do the list of the lies that he told, maybe break them down into categories. I don't know, job, school, add-ons, something like that. And then we'll need a list of all the stupid things he did as a dimwit criminal where he didn't cover up his crime very well. So if anybody wants to work on those lists and we'll revisit them together, I think that'd be kind of fun. And Laura said, Carrie, thank you again for doing such an amazing job on the Brooks videos. You nailed it. Oh, thank you, honey. You know what? We're not done with him. I'm still going to do some clips and stuff. We're going to have some fun with that, but we just got to move on to other cases. Yeah, Elizabeth said it was sad that the defense has no witnesses and nothing to go on. I guess he didn't talk to them either. When you said that, I was thinking, you know what? They probably saw the whole case and went, he's going to lie to us too. I mean, what's he going to tell us? And did he tell them a bunch of stuff that they went back and did a meeting together and went, you know what? We can't work with what he's saying here. This isn't going to work. This guy is a compulsive liar, you guys. I think he has a problem. Obviously, he has a problem. But I mean, before he did what he did, he had a problem with lying. And y'all were talking about him having a lot of time to do what he did. Yeah, so they say he did it on the 1st of July, and then he didn't have to really report him missing until, was it the 7th? So he had a bunch of days in there, and the only person that he had to interact with directly, really, during that time period, apparently, was his girlfriend and her mom and her mom's partner. And so there wasn't like, I guess, I don't know where his brother was, but yeah. So there you go. Cass feels bad for the defense attorneys. She said there was something about the defense closing that left me bitter and sore towards her, though. Okay, well, I'm going to see. I think the other defense attorney was better at speaking. She should have given the opening, but it's been a while since I watched pieces of this trial, and I have not watched this thing. I've not watched this thing all the way through, but I don't know if we're going to watch it all the way through together. I think what I want to do is get the important pieces together for you guys. I think that'd be a little bit more fun because we're spoiled. This isn't going to be as exciting as the last trial that we looked at. So I'll just try to piece some things together and we'll watch clips and go through the hard evidence. How about that? Cass says it's very hard eating ice cream while I'm hiding under my bed. She's freaked out. Cass, girl, you got to lock that door. You better lock that door because I'm telling you, the day and age that we live in. Debbie got a membership. Yeah, you got that from Zephyr, I think, Debbie. Barbara says, she said, my child graduated with a 4.2 GPA, but I used to ask her sometimes if she was saving up brain cells for the winter. How you doing? That's awesome, Barbara. Barbara, I swear you've been hanging out with John Bubba way too long at this point. Don't drink the water in Wisconsin or in Florida. He was so lazy with everything he did. He was completely lazy. He'd never, it's like he couldn't follow through with anything. But it also makes me wonder, and I'm not trying to speak ill, but I'm going to, although I shouldn't, I'm going to, because we're talking about the whole case. Was he coddled too much? Do y'all think the parents were coddling him too much? It sounds like the dad had more, maybe the dad had less involvement in it and was just kind of, mom was coddling him the whole time. And then dad was kind of like, what's going on? What? Huh? And when dad started checking into it, it was like, boom. Coffee Cake says that mom's entire body still has not been found. What the F? I did not know that part. I did not know that. I'm going to go down here to the other portion of the chat now. Louise says if there's ever a case of not guilty by reason of medical defect, this is it. RJ Supreme says that dude is a turd. The defense attorney's going to get creative. Are you being facetious, Blanco? Oh no, you're good, Barbara. I'm not buzzing at you. I just think you have bad influence around you. We love you, John Bubba. Oh, goodness. Y'all are hilarious. Are the police being paid to testify? Nullify. The jury has the power. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I want to do this case so bad, you guys, because this guy is, I mean, this is it's craziness. I mean, it's crazy what he did, but all the effort that he put into all the lies before all that happened is just so weird. It's just, it's mind-blowing. John Penman, you nailed it. Nullify. KM Nancy says, KM Nancy, where you been, girl? Good to see you. Patty says, we can't be as tough on her, though, because the defense attorney really has nothing to stand on. John says, my brother used to do criminal defense, and it's a challenge. The jury deserves to know. Does Chandler drive a tan Kia? I don't know. Look at this. No, I asked y'all if y'all want to come up. Minnie T's like, nope, not me. John Bubba's blaming it on work. Whatever, John Bubba. I don't believe you, but okay. I believe you. I know we got to get together on a weekend. I'm not. JP says I'm not properly dressed. John says my orange jumpsuit is at the cleaners. But they have waffles, Louise. Yeah, but I'm more of a pancake girl. I'm sorry. I just am. By the way, I talked earlier about this pumpkin pie from Winn-Dixie. Don't ever buy pumpkin pie from Winn-Dixie. Don't do it. I think I could have done better if I'd have bought it at Walmart. Seriously. It was horrible. It's not worth the calories. Zephyr is awesome. She is. Zephyr says, I can't come up. I feel doozy. I know, John Bubba. That's why we love you, honey. Oh, you're welcome, Elizabeth. I'm glad y'all are here sticking with me. Y'all know the views are going to be a lot lower than they were. It's going to be tough for me to do this one. That's why I thought I'd do this while I'm going over. Tomorrow I'm going to go over to the animal shelter and try to start my venture there with taping some of the dogs. So You got to look at it like if I'm going to do some videos of dogs, you guys have to look at it from a different standpoint. You don't go in with, "Oh, I can't watch it because they're in the shelter." No. You take those damn videos and you share them and you keep sharing them. And that's how we get the exposure for these dogs. And that's how they get out of those shelters. But there's a lot of dogs that come into the shelters that are just so freaked out when they get there. They're not themselves, which makes them not adoptable. So what I want to do is go in there and spend a little time with the ones that are having a hard time and let them know that there's somebody there that is going to it's going to be okay. So if the shelter's going to let me do that, I'm going to be taping it. And we'll see. I don't have all the details of how I'm going to do it exactly, but that's what I've been working on the side. Crazy Casey, girl, I want to say thank you for being a mod. Y'all give her some love in the chat. It is like a family reunion, isn't it? Oh, did you work in medicine your whole career, Patty? I didn't know that. JPC said, oh, you want the ailment one then, Patty. Okay, you got it. You got it. I forgot to ask that question. Crazy KC, are you raising your hand to do something? Which one do you want? JPC says, I give homework. I used to give homework. I don't do it anymore. I'm not taking any. To-do list of medical problems you need to own a paper factory. Marianne, that one freaking picture. That one freaking picture of him standing with that neck brace on. I about lost it. That is the funniest thing. I think that's part of the reason why I'm so drawn to this case because of the stupidity of it all. It's kind of, I mean, there's a bad piece of it, but it's like, my gosh, it's like a Saturday Night Live skit. Yeah, I feel bad for I feel bad for the brother. He's ugh. I want to know why they haven't found her. I wonder what happened. I wonder what happened with the rest of that. I will, Laura. Chaz was talking about Kat, the girlfriend. You had a habitual liar sister? I can't lie to save my life. Like, if I lie, I swear, my nose don't grow, but I think my face gets red. I'm not very good at it. A bingo card? Oh my gosh, show poodles. Is he going to remove his shirt? Or is he going to wear his orange jumpsuit under a yellow shirt? Defendant. Oh, Barbara, hard candy Christmas with Dolly. Oh, who saw Dolly in the Dallas Cowboys halftime show on Thanksgiving Day? I just love her. You guys, isn't she in her 80s? Or is she late 70s? Wearing, now it was like it wasn't the actual Dallas Cowgirl get up, but it was like a dancer's type of thing where you could tell she had like a bodysuit on with that outfit, sewn into it. But it was like, you go, Dolly. I just love her. No, but we were talking about the fact that all the controversy in the world, and there's one person that everybody loves, and that's Dolly Parton. We need to just let her run for president, and then we'd all be happy. But I'm not talking about politics on my channel, so that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm saying about that. Hey, Jessica. Glad you caught one too, honey. Insanity plea. Okay, good point, Louise. Why didn't they go with the insanity plea? Maybe he wouldn't agree to it. Oh, Lord. Like what Medea says. You think he burned the body parts in the fireplace. Okay, yeah, Minnie T, but wouldn't there have been more evidence of it? Because they said that what they found was the portions of the father. Dodge Correctional Army recruiting ad. Oh, yeah. I mean, doesn't it sound like when she first said that, she was like, "You can be a juror. You can decide. You can decide to be a juror. Do the right thing." She got a little bit of Durrell in her, I think. They are going to need serious therapy after seeing. Louise says the jury's going to need serious therapy after seeing all the pictures involved and hearing all the details. It's going to get bad. That's why we're going to have to keep this sensitive content warning up. And damn, YouTube better not. They better. We might have to be careful. They better not try to diss me on how we're going to get monetized on this. And Minnie T, she's Switzerland. She says everyone deserves a defense from a real attorney, but we don't have to love them. Respiratory illness going around in dogs? I haven't. I haven't heard about that, JPC. Oh, sure I will after tomorrow, though. Okay, I gotta scroll down because I got too many notifications. I don't know why you don't get notifications. Here's what I know. If I go to Steady's channel and I hit the Dad Blasted subscribe button, I have to then click it again and then choose all. Otherwise, it's only going to make me a subscriber. It's not going to notify me when they do something. But then you can't, it's not just that though. Like if you're, I know like certain channels that I watch on a regular basis, I'll go back to that channel in the morning or in the afternoons or sometimes of the day. I'll pull them up, just check in to see if they've posted anything for that day. I try to give some time before. I don't always do this, but I do try to give a little bit of time before I go live. So you might see something up there like saying that it's coming soon. You got to go in and click it to notify you that it's coming on, or remember to come back. I know it's just I don't know. I'm sure YouTube is working on it. They seem to be doing a lot of stuff in the background. I got to give them credit. Yeah, we got to go to bed. So none of you chickens want to come up tonight. All right. Dolly's 78. Patty said Dolly Parton is 78. 77, Zephyr says. Okay, well, we'll go with that. 78 to 77 to 78. All right, Blanco. Have a good night, honey. She is an American treasure. Tony! Did you sneak in? Neo ho. Good morning, wherever you're coming in from. It's only 10 p.m. where I'm at. How you doing, Tony? You feeling better? Oh, you know somebody that knows Cher has a connection to Dolly. Cher says her good friend, she's good friends with her cousin. Oh. How far have we got in this trial? Okay. So Jessica, you're late to the party, honey, but tonight all we did was watch the opening statements. We heard what the charges were from the judge, and then we watched opening statements. We're not going to watch this trial though, every piece of it, because it's just too much. I'll look and see how many hours we would have to give it to do that. I just feel like it's going to get, I don't know though. You know what? If I remember correctly, you guys that have watched this already, it's not like the defense is going to come back with a whole lot. So we might not have to worry about it being too long. Mother's head and fire. Oh, Patty. Yeah, this is going to be, I bet we got to find better ways to talk about this. Y'all got to help me figure out how we're going to talk about all these horrible things and still get monetized on YouTube. It's horrible. Yeah, they found some pieces in the fireplace. She couldn't have done all of it, though. Barbara says, Carrie not loving Dolly is just un-American friend. But going back to what you said, and I totally agree with you. Hard Candy Christmas. I could listen to that song and just cry. And let me tell you, girl, I've had some hard candy Christmases. I have a feeling I'm going to have a hard candy Christmas this year, too. I might have to put that song on just so I can get some tears out. It might make me feel better. I used to listen to, Barbara, I used to listen to the entire, I had the album. I had the album of the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Listen to the whole thing. Even Don, what's his name, that he was singing about the whole thing. I used to dance like crazy to that soundtrack. Thank God nobody saw me. Is it bad? You've heard about it too, Patty? You guys don't even watch the news anymore. I hadn't had time. Check out the Asher House in 14 states now. Oh, shoot. Wait, what now? Cher says, I saw a sentencing recently. The case was so horrific, the judge pardoned the jury from participating as jurors for 20 years. So after the case. What, girl, what was, don't just keep us hanging. What case was that? Well, we're so glad to have you back in, Choni. I'm out. John Bubba says it'd been funny if she just got up and said, well, yeah, F this, I'm out. You snuck in. Well, you could sneak in. You don't always have to chat if you don't feel like it. That's probably why I haven't had, that's why I haven't done a live this several days. It's hard to be, I don't want to come on here and not be upbeat for you guys. And if I'm not in an upbeat mood, it's hard to do a live. So that's good. I'm glad, Tony. I'll keep praying for you, babe. What? Cher is holding out on us. Her cousin Wanda was married to Kenny Rogers. Girl. Those are the best Kenny Rogers songs, and some that he and Dolly did together. I mean, that was like some of the best time of my childhood. So those songs have a special place in my heart. Cher's got connections left and right. Wait, is your last name really Yelverton? Is it really spelled with an S or is it spelled with a C, Cher? I'm starting to wonder. Girl. Snap out of it. That was my quote from Moonstruck. Andrew Smith's direct and cross. He's hysterical. Okay. Wait. Oh, okay. No. Yeah. Well, I probably will. Yeah. I'm going to go through, JPC. I'm going to go through like each witness. If I feel like it's too much to show on YouTube, I'm not going to do it. Like if we get into some of the coroner stuff, I might have to, nah. I wouldn't do that one on the other trial either. But if we get some key pieces, I might just like clip a little bit out. And then, so we'll see. Louise has Hard Candy Christmas on her playlist. That's hilarious. Wanda just got a boyfriend first since Kenny passed. So happy for her. Oh, Wanda, you go, girl. Wanda got her groove back. She says, Carrie, I'm starting to really. We probably are. We're soul sisters. John Bubba said it ain't really Christmas, so you listen to Jeff Foxworthy's 12 Redneck Days of Christmas. You know the problem that living in the South is that they play it way too much. It's kind of like Grandma. Oh, sorry, Bruiser. It's kind of like Grandma got ran over by a reindeer. Oh. Deb Bullard said, Carrie, your chat is all the Christmas ornaments on your tree. Doesn't that sweet? Hey, thank you so much for your coffees earlier. I meant to email you back. I didn't know that was you. Because when you did it, it just says it says someone bought you a coffee. So thank you for doing that. If I decide to do a meeting in real life of these wonderful, brilliant chatters, sign me up. Y'all crazy. I ain't meeting y'all in person. Y'all a bunch of crazies. No, I'm just kidding. I do think that we should do a Zoom, though, one night. I think that would be fun. But we do a Zoom and us all be on there together. I think that would be fun. And not be on YouTube, just all of us. So, if anybody has any ideas about how we can do that, let me know. Oh, you're walking 3 miles daily? Oh, you're doing really good, Tony. Yeah, I don't like the Hollywood. I haven't liked the holidays for a very long time, Zephyr. Night, Minnie T. Wanda is your first cousin from Valdosta, your Aunt Tina's daughter. She's a twin. Yes, that's my real name. And no, you're not from the South at all. That's so funny, Cher. She got a brush with greatness, Tony said. Moonstruck. Yes. Hey, Wonder Joy. Sneaking in late. You're going to be the replay crew. Are we gonna have a Grinch stream together? Are we gonna all get together on Christmas and hang out? It's something like we might all need to. Corner stuff is the best part. Bob Kitten. I don't know though. I'm gonna have to watch it in advance before I play it. I didn't watch this trial completely all the way through. I watched bits and pieces of it. I think I did a little bit more than just watching some highlights. I did actually tune into the trial some, but hey, hippie chick. Hey girl, hey. Welcome to the Hee Hee and the Kiki Club. You are now an official Brooksaholics member, whether you want to be or not. I love Jeff Foxworthy. I love all three of the blue collar guys. They're so funny. Walking around in women's underwear is your favorite Christmas song? I don't know if I've heard that one, JPC. Maybe I have, I just don't know it. Yes, you have to get dressed, Patty. If we're going to do a Zoom, you could be in your PJ bottoms, but you got to put a top on. And if you don't want to be on a stream, you don't have to, but I feel like it's going to be really awkward if you're not. Because I'm even going to be on the stream. I'm not going to use my avatar. I'm going to actually come on the stream with y'all. Bob Rivers, specially wreck the malls. Okay. I have to check that out. I wish we could play some of that stuff together. And so many. I wanted to play so badly with you guys. I want to play like a movie quote game where I play like some movie quotes and you have to name the movie that it came from, because I thought it'd be really fun for all of us since we're all kind of in the same time area, age, whatever. But I'd have to do the quotes myself, and it's just not the same. Your friends and family think you're nuts for watching all these crazy trials. They call me weird. You know what, Judy? You're not though, because there's a bunch of us that love them. And I was just talking not too long ago to my young niece who goes to Ole Miss. She loves this crime stuff too, and she watches these trials. So it's not just us older folk. We need to do a meetup and walk shot a day before the 2024 Christmas parade. Oh my gosh, that'd be neat. I couldn't handle the weather. Okay, wait. Tony says, I dated a singer in college, very likable to everyone in college. After getting to know her, same as any human, I didn't stay with her. So what are you trying to say, Tony? Because she could sing? What are you trying to say? We're all the same. We all put our pants on and off the same way, you know? And nobody's special. Some people think they're more special than others, but they're not. I went down. So at one point in my life, I got to hang out with some pretty cool people in the sports world. And I got to be around some really big name people. Like, talk about name dropping. What I found cool, though, is that they say you don't want to meet your idols or be disappointed. There were a few that was like that. But there was more of them that weren't like that. And those I remember the most. The other ones, I'm like, eh. So I get that. But they say you don't want to meet your heroes or your, what's that saying? Y'all are talking about Christmas songs. Wait. Oh, Usher was at your, what? Oh, I got that song. Oh. I don't know the words of the song. I can just hear it in my voice when he does that. Yeah. I don't know the song. I don't even know the lyrics. Hippie chick. Hello, everyone. And Carrie, I've watched you since your second live. Oh, all a long time ago. I finally set everything up, and now I can chat with the cool kids. We was cool kids. That's exactly how you spell it. You got that one right, hippie chick. We special. We special kids. Carrie, be the first to do a live Zoom chat. Start a trend. A live Zoom chat. I thought, well, I guess I could. I could. See, when I was doing my business stuff on YouTube for the organization that I worked for, I did some stuff on YouTube. I guess I could. Might have to do something like that. Oh, did you said you did it a while back on J9's? Did she? What'd you do, Casey? Us y'all get together? Ray Stevens, loved Ray Stevens. He was hilarious. Don't look, Margaret. Show Poodle, I'm not going to tell our great leader, Carrie, who and what made Xmas in Dixie so special. Southern Baptists don't confess out loud. Oh! Southern Baptist Convention. I'm reading y'all's chats, by the way. We do, Carrie. I jump in my pants, especially hung up to save time. Well, that's because you're a superhero, John Bubba. You're not like the rest of us. Eurelis Velez. I hope I didn't just chop up your name. Eurelis, wait, let me say it. Eurelis Velez. First time connecting live your channel. Thank you. Welcome aboard. Y'all be nice to her. She's new. Don't scare her away. Well, she's new in the chat. She's not new to the channel. Meeting your idol, you may be disappointed. That's it. Yeah, that's it, Tony. Carrie, Tony meant about Kenny being us. Being us was cool. And I said after 2 home visits, he was just a dude in the family. Oh, I see what you said. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I want to meet my millionaire husband. Where have you? What the hell, Louise? I got JPC having wet dreams over here about Johnny Depp, and now you're talking about Louise. What? A millionaire husband. Did y'all? And did anybody watch The Golden Bachelor? I saw that commercial and I said no, thank you. I don't think so. I think I got it. Night crazy Casey. Love you, honey girl. All right, I'm like so behind in the chat. When is the next live stream? I don't know. Oh, y'all, I'm probably not gonna be on tomorrow, by the way, because it's my sister's birthday and we're taking her out to dinner. But before that, I got to go to the shelter, and I got to go. I just got to do a bunch of errands. So I'm not even going to tell you I'm going to be on. If I come back tomorrow night and I get a bug up my butt, I might, but I don't like to make promises because I'm really not good at keeping them when I do that. So not on when I'm going to go live anyway. It wasn't Zoom though. I don't know what she did. I used to have a channel where we could have done that. Yeah, I did have a thing, but I think it's expired already. It was through my old job. Carrie, it's better when you put the notification on. Wait, oh, what? But I did. I thought. He better be really rich. Louise, who are you talking to? JPC. Sometimes I read y'all's chats going down the line, and I'm like, who are you talking to? And I can't, it's hard to put together who you're talking to in the chat because I know not all of you are talking to me. Louise says she wants to meet her millionaire husband, but she also wants him to have abs. We can't have it all, Louise. Cannot have it all. Oh, thank you, Tony, for the reminder. If you guys have not hit the like button yet and you're enjoying it in here, will you please do that for you, girl? You didn't get a notification? That might have been on purpose, JPC. I'm just kidding. No, yeah, I think I set it up. No, you know what? Tonight's thing, I set it up at around 5 or 5:30 to go live at 8 o'clock. So I actually gave it a little bit of time. Y'all should. What do you people want from me? I gave you more than 2 hours. I'm being funny, by the way, because I know I'm a pain in the ass to keep up with, and I really appreciate you guys doing your best to keep up with me. Barbara's watching you through your windows again. OnlyFans. John Bubba, I bet you do have an OnlyFans page. I'd pay. Who would pay to go see John Bubba's OnlyFans page? You wouldn't have to. Okay, and here's the thing about OnlyFans. You could do just about anything. You could sit there and tell jokes if you wanted to, fully dressed. People don't care. People are crazy. Look at me. I got a YouTube channel. Y'all are hanging out with me. You could do anything these days. I was watching a Gambler episode one night. Spit out my coffee when I saw the twins in it as saloon girls. Didn't know twins. Never watched it because my aunt is. Oh. They were in the Gambler movie? I remember that movie. And this is why I'm by myself, Louise says. Well, that's okay, honey. We can all have high standards. There's nothing wrong with that. I have high standards. That's why I'm single. That and I can't tolerate people very long, but I do my best. I just refuse to go to therapy about it. I got a notification, but I was on 3 different chats before I came in here. Oh, okay, Tony. I see you. I see how you are. So we're the 4th one in line, you guys, before Tony comes by to say hello to us. He's got to hit up all his other people. Got to hit up all the other chats first before he comes by to say hello to us. All right, Tony. You want a phone call? What do you want a phone call for, Louise? Have you guys ever seen the oh shoot, never mind, I forgot the name of it. Hey, Urellis just joined. You are now going to be part of our unstable, dysfunctional, completely full of weirdos family. Welcome. Oh, I do that too, JPC. I drink a lot of coffee at night. And then I wonder why I can't function. Low standards is better that way. You're seldom disappointed. Ah, I don't know, John Baba. I don't think I like that. I mean, low standards is better that way. You're seldom disappointed. I disagree. I don't know. Y'all, I have a question. Is it true what they say about when you know, you know? Oh, yes, to let us know you're going live. Okay, yeah. But see, no, I'm saying I don't do the notification, Louise. You should get a notification. And then if you go in and you see like a live's been set up and it's coming up maybe, not in an hour or so, then you have to go in there and then you have to, I don't know why they do that, but they make you click to remind it, like to remind you to go come back. So weird. I don't know why they do that. Major League was filmed in Milwaukee, Tony. I didn't know that. I loved that movie. Show Poodle says, excuse me, I'm not a weirdo. I'm eccentric. Okay. Okay. I get it. I get it, Show. Cher's the one that calls us weirdos all the time, though. Yay. Yorelis. Am I saying your name right, by the way? Yorelis? Beautiful name. Sticker on my truck. Our family motto. Well, that escalated quickly. Oh, Cher. You guys, can y'all imagine us all sitting around a table having a drink? Or not, coffee's fine too. Ugh, we would all be so bad. This is why there's the internet. Because if you put us in a room together, we would break things. Okay. Okay. We would all break things. I like my high standards too, Louise. This is the way I look at it, Louise. I'd rather be alone and comfortable than with someone and be miserable. That's my favorite saying. And it's true. It's very true. But if you can find somebody that you can be with and still be comfortable around them, that's a big deal because that doesn't happen that often. At least not for me. John Bubba says, Poodles, we're just a bunch of nuts. You know what? We just a bunch of squirrels trying to get a nut. Stephen Trinity says, yeah. Y'all ever gone down? That reminds me, Tony, have you guys ever gone down the comedian wormhole on YouTube? Have you seen the comedian that does female comedian? The women are going to know this. The men, maybe not. The female comedian. Oh, I think she's Puerto Rican? Little skinny thing, cute as a button. And she does the nail thing. Gel nail. She says she does the nail skit about getting her nails done. Y'all know what I'm talking about? It's the funniest thing ever. Any woman that has ever been to a nail salon laughs their butt off when they hear it. But she does the accent. The Asian accent is so good. Barbara's going to be like, Barbara's going to be like the kid at the prom that spikes the punch. I am very set in my ways too, Patty. That's the problem. When you've been alone for so long, it's hard to. That's an adjustment, huh? People do it though. I don't know. I'd like to think I could do it with the right person, I guess. Well, yeah, that's the problem, Show Poodles. I got 3 of y'all from Louisiana. Bunch of coon asses. She's Mexican, I think. Mexican. Is she Mexican? You know what I'm talking about, Lenny? Lenny, are you a guy or a girl? Lenny, when I see Lenny, I think of a guy, but the way you spell it makes me think it might be a girl. I have heard of her, don't know her name, but why you had no boyfriend? Why you have? Oh, that's why you had no boyfriend. Your nail look like diamond in the sky. Beautiful nail. Just one. Just $20 more. Angela Johnson. That's right. She made up. She was so funny because she always makes her name. She makes fun of her name. She is a mess. I just love her. All right, show. All right, Shay. Okay, Shay. Is that Cajun? Who said I'd rather be alone and happy than with someone and miserable? Good statement. I said that, Tony. That was my statement. Or is it? Did I steal it from some? I probably hijacked it from somewhere. Yeah, she makes fun of her last name being Johnson, Uvellis. Yeah. She's hilarious. No, I'm a redneck, not a coon ass. I'm from above I-10. John Bubba. What's so funny about that, John Bubba, is I know exactly what you're talking about. Nobody else probably does, except for the other 2 in the chat. There's so many good comedians out there. Next time we're chatting like this, I'll bring names. The problem is, though, is some of them get too rough, and it's like, it's too many cuss words. Steve Trevino, you won't be disappointed. Okay. Yes, JPC, I think she does. I will cut you. I will cut you. Security. Security. Shonda Pierce is hilarious. Hysterical. She's a clean Christian, but also funny. See, that's the thing. It has to be. I loved Eddie Murphy though. We used to do the Eddie Murphy Raw. We would go on cart and on like when we were in our 20s. We would go on road trips together a lot on the weekends. We'd be in the car for hours. We could sit there and amongst me and my 3 or 4 friends, we could do the whole skit of Raw and Eddie Murphy. It was just, especially the freaking barbecue. But there's a lot of cuss words in it. But God, it's Cajun country. I'm not a Cajun either. Just live in it, Show Poodle says. Barbara hadn't said anything. I think she's pissed I called her a goodness. Where you at, Barbara? Don't be mad. I'm an Alabama redneck. I've seen Shonda live. Leanne Morgan is funny. All right, guys. I think we're the only people on YouTube at this point. At least it feels that way. I'm not saying on the live, on YouTube. It's so quiet. It's so quiet tonight. I'm so cold. I got this plush. It's like it feels like a PJ top. It's real soft and plushy, but it's like a little jacket, but it's like oversized. And it's got a hood on it. And it's so warm, and I call it my Obi-Wan Kenobi thing. I cuddle up in it. And I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi when I put the hood on because it's so flipping cold. Crazy KC says I'm Polish. I don't know what the hell I am. I just was born in Alabama. When you're born in Alabama, you don't look up your family tree. You're scared of what you find. So you just stay out of it. We don't talk about that ancestry stuff. Too many cousins involved. That's a joke, by the way. Don't anybody get their panties in a wad. That was a joke. Yeah, the horse behavior humor. I'm with you. I can't stand it. I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like it when women get crude. That's just I don't need it. I know. Aren't they funny? Everybody here is so funny. All right, Miss Laura. Oh, you got fever. Oh, girl. Go get some rest. What they say? Drink lots of water, orange juice, any kind of liquid, and just sweat it out. Just sleep a lot. Just get rest. Just give your body that time. I couldn't be in Milwaukee. It's too damn cold. I can't handle it in Alabama. I think we're in the 40s. I can't handle it. All right, guys. It's been nice hanging out with y'all after the content. The fact that I still have sensitive content warnings scrolling across the bottom is no accident. That's why we have to get blood tests before we get married in Alabama to make sure you're not related. Related? You know, there's just got to be two good disconnects in there, JPC. We don't get that picky. Just two good disconnects. You know, like a mama, a sister of a cousin or something like that. You know, y'all, I'm kidding, y'all. So kidding. All right, you guys, be good. Love y'all. And if I don't see y'all tomorrow, can I say world peace? Girl, pray for that area. Pray for everybody over there in that area. Because there's a lot of people in Palestine. I mean, I back Israel. There's a lot of people in Palestine that they don't deserve what they're getting right now. Bye, y'all. Be good. Night, night.